It was supposed to be a simple favor, a small act of kindness that made me feel like a good person on my own birthday. Ryan had made dinner reservations, something he rarely did anymore, and I was almost proud of him for remembering. The plan was easy. I'd drive home from work, pick up Amber on the way, and she'd stay with Eli while we went out. That was all. But halfway down Birch Street, my headlights caught the familiar curve of Ryan's silver sedan parked outside Amber's narrow townhouse. At first, I thought it was coincidence. He must have stopped by to drop something off. Maybe cash for the babysitting, maybe a forgotten toy. I wanted to believe that. For a long second, I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, the rain drumming on the roof. My heart beat so fast I could feel it in my throat. I should have driven away. Instead, I turned off the engine, stepped into the rain, and walked around the side of the house. The curtains weren't fully closed. Through the narrow gap, I saw them. Amber lying across him, her hair spilling over his chest, his hands tracing her back like he'd done with me once. The sound of her laughter mixed with his voice, soft, low, painfully familiar. Every part of me went still. My tongue, my breath, my thoughts, everything locked inside. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I only stared until my vision blurred. Then, without knocking, without saying a word, I turned and walked back through the rain. My shoes were soaked, my pulse numb, and my mind blank. That was the night I learned how quiet a heart can break. When I reached home that night, the rain followed me in like an uninvited guest. I shut the door behind me and stood there, dripping. The silence, thick enough to press against my skin. The house felt wrong, too still, too careful, as though it already knew what I'd seen. I didn't turn on the lights right away. Darkness was easier. It didn't ask questions. I set my purse on the counter and realized my hands were trembling. Not from cold, but from something deeper. Something I couldn't name yet. I thought I'd be angry. I wasn't. I was alert, like prey that suddenly understands it's been hunted all along. Every sound mattered. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the clock, the faint creak from upstairs. That creak shouldn't have been there. Eli was spending the night at my sister's. We were supposed to go out, remember? Dinner reservations, laughter, pictures for social media, all that fake perfection Ryan loved to collect. So why was someone upstairs? I picked up the heavy brass candle holder from the console table. My reflection in the glass door looked like another woman. Eyes too wide, hair plastered to her face, blouse clinging to her shoulders. A ghost of who I'd been a few hours ago. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step louder than the last. Ryan? My voice didn't sound like mine. No answer. The bedroom door was open. I reached it and stopped. The window curtains fluttered, wind pushing rain inside. The air smelled faintly of his cologne. Oak, spice, betrayal. On the dresser lay his watch, still ticking, next to a half-empty glass of whiskey. And then, footsteps. Not from the hallway this time, but from the guest room at the far end. I moved toward the sound, pulse climbing my throat. The guest room door was half closed, light seeping from the crack. I nudged it open with the candle holder, raised. Empty. Just the faint scent of perfume that wasn't mine. Amber's vanilla musk. Something vibrated on the bed. A phone. My phone. I'd left it downstairs. I stepped closer. The screen lit up with a new message from an unknown number. You shouldn't have come home early. My stomach twisted. I turned toward the hall, listening. Someone was definitely inside the house. The sound of a floorboard, gentle, deliberate. I moved fast, ran down the stairs, checking the front door. Locked. Back door, unlocked. Outside, the rain had eased into a whisper. I stepped onto the porch, scanning the yard. A figure in a hood stood by the gate, still as stone. When the lightning flashed, I saw the glint of a phone in their hand. I shouted, "Who are you?" but the wind carried my voice away. The figure turned slowly, then ran into the trees. I followed without thinking. The wet grass swallowed my shoes, branches slapped my arms, but I kept chasing the outline ahead. Tall, fast, familiar. "Ryan!" I screamed. The name tore out of me before I could stop it. No answer. When I reached the fence line, the figure was gone. Only the sound of a car door slamming somewhere in the dark, then tires peeling off on wet asphalt. I stood there, chest heaving, until the world went quiet again. When I returned to the house, my front door was wide open. Every instinct told me to run, but I stepped inside instead. The hallway light was on now, though I hadn't switched it. On the floor, near the console table, lay a single rose petal, crimson against the white tile. Beside it, a folded piece of paper soaked at the edges. "Happy birthday, Claire." I sank to my knees, reading the words twice, then a third time. The handwriting was Ryan's. So he'd been here, or someone wanted me to think he had. Upstairs, the bedroom door creaked again. This time, it wasn't the wind. I gripped the candle holder and started up, slow, deliberate, counting my steps to keep from trembling. Halfway up, I heard the faintest whisper, my name. Claire. It came from our bedroom. The voice was low, urgent, almost pleading. When I reached the doorway, Ryan stood there, drenched, eyes wide. He asked, "What the hell are you doing here?" As if I were the intruder. "You tell me," I said. He looked at the rose petal in my hand, then at the candle holder. "Claire, put that down." "I saw your car," I whispered, "outside her place." His mouth opened, then closed. He glanced toward the dresser, where his phone buzzed once, twice, lighting the room with its glow. I caught a glimpse of the sender's name, Amber. He snatched it up, silenced it, and said quietly, "You don't understand." "No, you don't." Before he could answer, my phone buzzed again from the nightstand where I'd dropped it. I turned it over. Same unknown number. "He's lying. Don't trust him." I lifted my eyes to him. "Who's sending me these?" He took a slow step forward. "You need to calm down. Answer me, Ryan." But he didn't. He reached for me, and I stepped back so fast my shoulder hit the wall. The candle holder slipped from my hand and clanged on the floor. The sound echoed through the house like a gunshot. For a second, we both froze. Then from outside came another sound. Tires crunching on gravel, a door shutting, footsteps approaching the porch. Ryan turned toward the window. His face went pale. "She's here," he muttered. "Who?" But before he could answer, the doorbell rang 3 slow, deliberate chimes that didn't belong to any neighbor or friend. I whispered, "Ryan, who is here?" He looked back at me, eyes wide, voice trembling. The mistake I can't undo. And that's when I realized the night wasn't done breaking. The chime echoed through the house again. 3 slow rings, like a countdown. Ryan didn't move. His eyes stayed fixed on the door, his breathing shallow. "Are you going to answer it?" I whispered. "No," he said, barely audible. "She wasn't supposed to come here." "She?" But he didn't answer. He turned, crossed the room, and snatched his phone from the dresser. I watched him type fast, trembling thumbs, the reflection of the screen lighting his face. Then the doorbell rang a third time, followed by knocking, hard, insistent. "Ryan," I hissed, "what's going on?" He turned to me, eyes wild. "You need to go upstairs, now." I almost laughed. "Go upstairs? In my own house? Tell me who's outside." But he was already heading down the stairs, barefoot, soaked shirt clinging to his chest. I followed, every nerve screaming at me to not let him open that door. The knock-in grew louder. Whoever it was, they weren't leaving. Ryan reached the foyer and stopped. His hand hovered over the doorknob. For a heartbeat, everything went silent. Even the rain seemed to hold its breath. Then he opened it. Amber stood there. Her umbrella dripped water onto the doormat, her lipstick smeared, eyes red-rimmed. She looked nothing like the woman I'd seen laughing in the restaurant. This was someone raw, frightened. "Amber," she said, voice breaking, "we have to talk." He froze, didn't invite her in, didn't send her away, just stared. I stepped forward. "I think you've said enough for one night, Amber." Her head jerked toward me. "Claire?" She blinked, confusion flashing across her face. Why are you here?" "I live here." The words dropped like ice between us. She opened her mouth, but Ryan cut in. "Amber, not now." "Amber, she needs to know," Amber said, tone sharpening, "before it's too late." "Too late for what?" I asked. They exchanged a look, one that made my stomach twist. Then Amber pulled something from her bag, a flash drive. She held it out toward me. "Everything's on this." Ryan lunged forward. "Don't!" Amber stepped back, clutching it tighter. "You said you'd tell her, Ryan. You promised." "Amber, for God's sake." "Tell me what?" I shouted. Neither of them spoke. The silence stretched until I thought I might scream just to break it. Finally, Amber looked at me. "Your husband isn't who you think he is." I laughed once, short and bitter. "I think I figured that part out already." She shook her head. "No, Claire, you don't understand. It's not about us." Her voice trembled, eyes darting toward the staircase, then the windows, as if expecting someone else to be there. Ryan's voice was low, dangerous. "Amber, stop." But she didn't. She dropped the flash drive onto the floor between us. Then she turned and ran back into the rain. "Amber!" I called after her, but Ryan slammed the door shut so hard the frame rattled. "Don't," he said. "Don't touch that." I stared at the little silver flash drive lying on the tiles. "What's on it, Ryan?" He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "Nothing. She's trying to ruin me." "She already did," I said. He stopped, turned to me, eyes pleading. "Claire, listen to me. If you watch that, you'll destroy everything." "What's left to destroy?" Before he could answer, a faint sound echoed from outside. The shriek of tires, a crash, then silence. I ran to the window. Down the road, Amber's car had veered off into a ditch, headlights still burning, steam rising from the hood. "Oh my God," I whispered. Ryan grabbed his coat. "Stay here." "Like hell I will." We bolted outside, rain slicing through the dark. The car door was open, airbags deployed, but the driver's seat was empty. "Amber!" I shouted, scanning the trees. Nothing. Ryan turned in slow circles, muttering to himself. "No, no, no, no." When I looked down, something glinted near the tire. A silver chain bracelet. Hers. I picked it up, cold and wet. "Ryan?" I said softly. "What's happening?" He looked up at me then, eyes filled with something between guilt and terror. Someone's following her, and now they'll come for me. "Who?" He hesitated. "People I used to work for." Lightning split the sky, throwing his face into harsh light. In that instant, I saw the man I'd married and the stranger I'd never met. We ran back inside, drenched, hearts hammering. I locked the door, drew the curtains, and stared at the flash drive still lying where she dropped it. Ryan sank onto the couch, breathing hard. "We can't stay here tonight." "Why not?" "Because if she's gone, they'll think you know." "I don't know anything." He looked at me, voice quiet now. "That's the problem." Before I could reply, my phone buzzed on the counter. Same unknown number. "You have 1 hour. Don't trust him." I froze, staring at the words. When I looked up, Ryan was already on his feet, watching me read them. "How long have you been getting those?" "Since I saw you tonight." He stepped closer. "Claire, listen to me carefully. Whoever's sending those messages, they're not trying to protect you. They're trying to finish what Amber started." "Which is what?" He leaned in, voice barely above a whisper, exposing something that could get us both killed. Thunder rolled, shaking the windows. Somewhere outside, a car engine started again, slow, idling near the gate. I turned toward the sound. "Ryan!" He grabbed my arm. "Don't look." But it was too late. Through the curtain, I saw a silhouette in the car, someone watching the house. Ryan's hand tightened. They found us. And in that instant, I realized this wasn't a love story anymore. It was a countdown. After Ryan fell asleep on the couch, I sat alone in the dark, the flash drive gleaming on the table between us like a loaded gun. Rain tapped the windows in soft, irregular beats, like a code I couldn't decipher. I told myself I wouldn't look, that I'd wait for morning or the police or sanity, but lies are easier to tell when no one else can hear them. So I plugged it in. The screen came alive with folders, payments, clients, surveillance logs, each one dated, each one with Ryan's initials. My stomach clenched. I opened one. Inside were videos, grainy security footage, mostly offices, some homes. In one, Ryan sat across from a man I didn't know, exchanging envelopes. In another, he was typing on a laptop in a dimly lit room, copying files labeled with government seals. My husband wasn't cheating, he was spying. Then I found the last file, amberc.mp4. My finger hovered. I hesitated, then clicked. The video began with Amber crying. Her voice trembled as she said, "If something happens to me, it's because I tried to stop him." I pressed pause, heart pounding. Downstairs, Ryan stirred. His phone buzzed once. A message preview flashed across the screen. Unknown. She opened it. I looked at the door. Locked. Then back at Ryan. Still asleep. Or pretending to be. I ejected the drive, slipped it into my coat pocket, and crept upstairs to Eli's room. My son slept peacefully, clutching his stuffed bear, unaware that his world was tilting beneath him. I kissed his forehead and whispered, "We're leaving soon." Then my phone vibrated again. Same number. "Go now. They're already inside." The sound that followed was faint. The soft creak of a floorboard down the stairs. Someone else was in the house. The count came again, heavier this time, like a shoe dragging across hardwood. I froze by Eli's door, barely breathing. My mind raced through every possibility. Ryan, an intruder, Amber's people. Downstairs, a floorboard creaked again, then a whisper, too low to understand, but close. I pressed my ear to the door. The voice came from the living room, Ryan's voice, but he wasn't alone. "She saw the files," he murmured. A second voice answered, distorted, male. "Then it's done. We clean it up tonight." My heart slammed against my ribs. Clean it up? I grabbed Eli's backpack, stuffed it with his toy, a blanket, and the flash drive. My hands shook as I slipped on his sneakers and whispered, "Sweetheart, wake up. We're going on an adventure." He blinked, drowsy, trusting. "Daddy coming?" "Not this time." I lifted him into my arms and crept down the back stairs, the ones Ryan always said were too creaky to use. Each step moaned beneath my weight. I winced. In the hallway, I saw the flicker of flashlight beams slicing through the dark. Two shadows moved across the wall. "Upstairs?" one man asked. "Check the kitchen first," Ryan replied. I darted toward the back door. My fingers brushed the lock and stopped. The deadbolt was gone, removed. He'd prepared for this. I turned, heart hammering. Ryan stood at the end of the hallway, rainwater dripping from his hair, a gun in his hand. "Claire," he said quietly, "put him down." Eli whimpered, burying his face in my shoulder. "Who are they?" I demanded. "People who fix mistakes." "Meaning me?" His jaw tightened. "Just give me the drive. You'll both walk away." "Amber said you'd say that." For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Regret, maybe even love. "You don't understand, Claire. If they think you've seen it—" A crash interrupted him. The front door splintered inward, and voices shouted, "Federal agents, drop it." Ryan spun toward the noise, gun raised. The shot echoed through the house like a scream. I shielded Eli, hit the floor. Smoke, yelling, footsteps pounding. When I looked up, Ryan was gone, the doors swinging open, rain pouring in. I crawled toward the flashing lights, clutching Eli tight. Outside, through the chaos, I saw Ryan running into the woods. a dark figure swallowed by rain and distance. An agent pulled me up, shouting questions I couldn't hear. All I knew was that Eli was safe in my arms, and the flash drive was still in my pocket. But as the sirens wailed, I realized something chilling. They hadn't come for me. They'd come because of me. It's been 3 months since that night. The rain still wakes me sometimes, not because of fear, but because it reminds me how the truth first found its way in. Ryan's name was all over the news for a week. Quote, "Financial analyst linked to espionage network vanishes after federal raid." They never found him. Some said he fled the country, others whispered he's buried somewhere no one will dig. I stopped reading after the third headline. Eli and I live 2 towns away now, in a smaller house that smells of coffee and crayons. He started preschool, loves dinosaurs, and doesn't ask where his father went. I envy that innocence, that mercy only children possess. The flash drive stayed with me for weeks. Agents came, asking for it. They said it belonged to national interests, that keeping it would be obstruction. But when they left, I realized what it really contained. A blueprint of greed, deceit, and betrayal so deep it infected everything it touched. Ryan wasn't the architect, just another builder in a collapsing system. One night, I took it to the pier. The tide was high, the moon dull behind clouds. I watched the metal glint one last time, then threw it into the water. It sank fast, leaving no ripple, no trace. That was my justice. People like Ryan think truth and survival can't coexist. Maybe they're right, but I've learned that sometimes the bravest thing isn't exposing someone, it's ending the chain before it reaches the next innocent. Eli deserved a life unchained from his father's sins. I still see Amber's face sometimes, the way she looked that night, drenched and terrified. She tried to warn me, even when she knew it might cost her life. Maybe that's the part of her story I carry most, the courage to face love when it turns dangerous, to walk away when silence feels safer. Now, when I lock the door each night, I whisper the same thing under my breath. Not a prayer, but a promise. No more lies. Not for him, not for anyone. And when the rain comes again, I let it fall. Because I know it's not trying to wash away the past, just reminding me that everything, no matter how dark, eventually runs clear.